Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. On Wednesday, the U.S. Department of Agriculture updated its plant hardiness zone map for the United States, and that is going to affect some of us gardeners and growers. So I want to talk about today, what does that mean for you, your garden? What can you expect? Does anything change? Do you need to do anything differently? All the good nitty-gritty information that you're going to want to know about this updated map. Before we get into what the updates are and if it affects you, first of all, what are the USDA plant hardiness zones and why do you care about it as a gardener? The plant hardiness zones are kind of the industry standard. This is the bar that we look at both as a home gardener, as a grower, as a retailer, understanding where our perennials, shrubs, and trees are going to perform best and thrive in certain areas. Because as we all know, there are certain plants that we just simply cannot grow in our garden because our climate is not hospitable to those plants. That is all based on the USDA plant hardiness zones. Forever that I have always remembered, we here in Dallas, North Carolina, were a zone 7B. That means, of course, in North Carolina that we have pretty mild winters, we're have the heat and the humidity of the summertime, and that's what we always looked at. We now have been updated to a zone 8A. Basically, we went up a step. In your hardiness zones, the lower the number, so a 1 or a 2, you're going to be pretty darn cold, right? The higher the number, an 11 and a 12, then you're going to be very, very warm. With us being a 7B, now an 8A, we're going towards that warmer end of the plant hardiness zones. I was talking about it on social media yesterday. I kind of did an Instagram story, just said, hey guys, listen, this is what's happened. We have changed, and a lot of people, it seemed the vast majority of people did go up a half a step of a zone. Some people did stay the same. If you are unsure what your zone is, I have provided a link in the video description that you can go to the USDA, the Plant Hardiness Zone website. All you have to do is type in your zip code and it will tell you what you are. Now, once you know this information, maybe you stayed the same, maybe you got warmer. I don't think anybody that I saw got colder, right? We tend to be going in that trend of the warming and not necessarily the cooling. What does it mean for you, the gardener? Well, if you get warmer, basically it's going to open you up to some more plants. It's going to open you up to plants that maybe you thought, well, gosh, I can't grow that. I'm just too cold. They'll never survive here. I'm standing right here in front of some camellias. Maybe you're a little bit north of me and you thought I could just never do those. We're just too cold. Camellias, of course, are those iconic shrubs here in the south that do like the warmer temperatures. So maybe that opens you up and you can try some camellias. For me, there are certain, there's jasmines that I can try now that I don't have to be as concerned about with my winters that are going to be cooler. And so I get opened up to those new possibilities. So expand your horizons a little bit and go ahead and try something that you traditionally have always thought that you couldn't grow because you were too cold if your zone has gotten warmer. When you go to the garden center, you're not going to notice any difference. The plant tags are going to be the exact same. The plants have no clue that people's hardiness zones have changed, right? They're just living their best life at the nursery, at the garden center. And so when you go, you're not going to notice any kind of difference at the garden center. With us at our garden center, we don't have to do anything different. I don't have to change plant tags. I don't have to, do any kind of different advertising other than the fact of saying, hey, we're a little bit warmer now, and officially you can maybe try some of these warmer plants. So when you go to the garden center, there's not going to be much of a difference there. For us as a grower, what does it mean? Well, it does open us up to trying, again, just like a home gardener, as a retail grower retailer, we get to try more plants that maybe we thought we couldn't, that wouldn't thrive here, because we're always very cautious to make sure that the plants that we offer here at the garden center are plants that will thrive in our North Carolina zone 8A. That's going to take me forever. So if I ever say a 7B in the future, just go, no, Jenny, you're an 8A. It's going to take us a little while to get used to that. that maybe we can try different plants and offer those plants to our customers. So really, it's not gonna like hurt us in a negative way, and I see it as it just confirms what we already know. I was talking with Kata, you know my Kata, I adore my Kata. Kata is our representative with Walters Gardens, who is our perennial supplier, the grower of all the Proven Winners perennials. She lives in North Carolina as well, and she was like, yeah, I'm not shocked. And we weren't shocked either. It was just kind of nice to confirm what we really already suspected was happening, is that we have gone a little bit warmer. We're now officially a zone 8A. There is not that much difference between a 7B and an 8A. Now, if you go from a 7B to a 9B, massive difference. So when you're looking at, am I an 8A or an 8B, a 7A, a 7B, a 2A, a 2B, there's not a whole lot of difference within that, but you still just want to look at those general guidelines to kind of understand where you are. So hopefully that has answered any questions that you might have had about the changes of the plant hardiness zones. Again, check out that link in the video description. Head on over to their website, plug in your zip code, and see what happens. You may have stayed the exact same. You may have gone up. Now, I'm standing in the backyard, and as I was walking out here to do this video, I had to pass through the patio. It is looking really good with all of my fall annuals. So I thought, you know what? Let's do a little quick impromptu backyard garden tour. Here we are in the middle of November. I mean, Thanksgiving is, oh my gosh, it's a week away. Yes, so today is Thursday. You'll see this on Friday. It is a week away from today. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So let's take a garden tour in the backyard and see what things are looking like. Welcome to a very bright, sunny backyard patio. This is our full sun patio. Been in here many times before, but like I said, when I was filming the video just right over there, I wanted to come and give you an update of the space because it's looking so bright and cheery. You were here with me when we planted all of the different fall annuals in this area. It was 3 separate times that I did it, and everybody is looking very nice, and the camellias are blooming. So I can't wait to show you that. All right, first, let's start with the update on the 3 Weston urns. These are Weston urns from Unique Stone, and we have 3 of them. We always have had these 2 on each side of the seating wall, and then we decided to add another one right over there because if you remember, we are doing a little bit of a test, very unscientific, just a good old Creekside test of looking at the different potting soils to see if there is any difference. So in this container, we have the Proven Winners potting soil. This is one that I have always traditionally used in all of my containers, the Proven Winners. We have, in each of the containers, we have the same Sweet Color Max Lemon Blush yellow violas, and then a Chef's Choice rosemary. Looking fantastic. So Proven Winners is doing great. And then as we move on over here, the next one is Berger. Berger is spelled B-E-R-G-E-R. It is a Canadian company that does soils for growers, right? So it's not, they don't have retail mixes. It is only for growers. We are switching our mix this coming year to Berger. It is doing really well also. Looking good. Violas are nice and big and full. Now, I don't want you to look too much at the rosemary and go, oh, well, you know, the Proven Winners rosemary is bigger. They could have been bigger. There was a little bit of a size variation in the rosemary when we planted them. And of course the violas were all in that same little cell packs. They're a fast grower. The rosemary is a little bit, you know, a slower grower, but it is doing very nicely. Of course, obviously, full sun area. And then next we have the Espoma. Espoma also doing quite well here. It is here on the corner and doing nicely as well. So it's really going to be kind of fun and interesting to see how these 3 different soils go throughout the whole entire winter. Because, I mean, gardening is just one big science experiment anyway. So that is what we are doing. Now, to give you a little bit of an update on Well, you know what? Let's focus. If you've been with me before, you know that sometimes I get a little distracted in the garden because there's so many things that I want to show you. But first, we're going to stick with the annuals, the fall annuals that we have planted. Okay, here we go, my friends. Right here at the bottom where we have my shadow, and we have 2 David Austin roses and the blue chiffon standard. This is a Rose of Sharon. Look at these pansies. Dear heavens to Betsy, they are some happy, happy plants. This particular bed is not on irrigation. And so I did in the beginning really have to kind of come in here and water on a regular basis because we're not getting consistent rain. But this is just 1 plant per clump, and they are filling out quite nicely. So these are pansies, and then moving down to the kind of the other 2 longer beds, we have violas. The difference between pansies and violas, all pansies are a type of viola, but violas are not necessarily pansies. It can be a little bit confusing, but notice that the flowers on the violas are going to be significantly smaller, but you have more blooms per plant. Now in this, I have 3 plants per group. You can see it a little bit better here with the yellow. So there are 3 different plants throughout each, so each clump is 3 plants necessarily. Again, the front edge here is not on irrigation, so I would water those as well. They are doing quite nicely. I did have somebody is enjoying, some little bug is enjoying the flowers. Can you see how the rough edges right here? So somebody's been chewing on some of them. It doesn't really bother me. If they start to go in and just go nuts, then I'll probably come in and put some diatomaceous earth in there, and so that if it was slugs or snails, that's a great organic safe way to put that in your garden to get rid of those. But all the way through down here on the other side, this is my first time putting this is my first time putting violas and pansies in the garden, like in this space for the fall. Traditionally, I always just kind of left it blank in the wintertime. I just left it, I was tired and I just didn't want to do it. I am so glad though that I did it because they're so sweet and cheery and very happy. Now, I am very happy because my white shishi camellias have really started to bloom, and they are coming out. They're covered in buds and they are starting to bloom. So let me show you those. Really fun. Now, camellias can tend to be on the larger side. This is the October Magic White Shishi from Southern Living Plants. It is a full sun camellia. It is a dwarf camellia. The white shishi, of course, is that beautiful dark green that is a evergreen here in the garden. It pairs quite nicely with the Sprinter boxwoods, but you can see, right, it has a more compact habit. I pruned it once. That is at the end of spring, going into summer. I just shape it up a little bit and it does great. Now, the white shishi, obviously given its name, is a pure white flower. I'm trying to show you as best I can, but gorgeous double white flower that is pure, solid, and absolutely stunning and gorgeous. I have 3 of them in here right across the front of the porch, and they have done really well. So super excited about the white shishis and blooming. If you can find them, grab them. You will love them. Again, it's kind of a contradiction as what you think of as a camellia. Typically we think of camellias as being more shade tolerant. These with the October Magic series tend to be more sun loving, and these are in full sun all the time, right? So sun up to sundown, they are in full sun and do really well. They are on irrigation. The irrigation is currently turned off for them because we're having water issues. So if I come in through here and when I'm watering the violas, I'll go ahead and hit the shrubs as well. So that kind of gives you, oh, no, it doesn't. Let's hop up to the porch. I'm going to show you the deck boxes because we got to talk about those. Here we are up here on the porch. You saw me plant these raised deck boxes a couple weeks ago, maybe 2, 3 at the absolute most. And we're keeping it simple. Again, this is my first season, fall season, winter season Planting these boxes, typically I just leave them barren for the winter. Oh my gosh, can we talk about this cardoon and how much it has grown? Dear heavens, it is doing fantastic. Cardoon is a great cool weather plant. It can be a perennial, and if you put it in the landscape, it can get quite large. I also have the beautiful, one of my absolute favorite plants, the Ascot Rainbow. It too is a perennial. Now, with the Ascot Rainbow, I will most definitely take this out of the containers in the spring and plant it in the landscape. The cardoon, we'll see. That'll be to be determined. But cardoon is in the artichoke family, so it has a lot of that shape, that color, nice silvery blue, green color to it. Nice different texture, and you can just see with the habit, it's going to be kind of more like a vase-like, so skinny at the bottom, and then it comes up and then spreads out. And then of course these sweet little violas are doing great. All of this can handle the full sun, especially in the winter, because winter sun is not nearly as potent as summer sun, so everybody is doing great right here. Now you notice with your cardoon, if you have cardoon, you will have pieces like this that are old, right? So this is just an old leaf, and you can absolutely, and I would probably go ahead and do this one as well. Just take your clippers. It can be sometimes a little tough to do it with your thumb, but just come in right here with your clippers and just prune it back. So just prune this back, and then of course you have all of this beautiful foliage up top. So that's really kind of the only maintenance that has to be done in here. You can see a couple of those cardoons could be used to be cleaned up. But other than that, it is doing great. If we can get consistent rain, that would be amazing, because these boxes are on irrigation. So they're on irrigation. They get watered once a day for probably 15 minutes or so. And I think that's really has obviously contributed to the nice growth and success of the cardoons. They are very, very happy. So let's pop on down and let's look at some of the plants that we're going to be talking about. What do we do in the future? Like, how do we maintain these shrubs? As we come down the steps down into the patio, to my left, you will see that we have 3 David Alston roses, and they are they're wild and full, and yeah, they're a force to be reckoned with right now. I'm not going to do anything to them at this point. This is Scepter Isle, and so it has, you can see, it has a few of some rose hips. Rose hips, of course, are just those beautiful ornamental, they're the buds of, so the rose was right here. So you had the rose right here, and this is just that little tip, and then it forms these beautiful, colorful balls. Depends on the roses, will determine kind of the color of your rose hips. Those make great fall arrangements. So if you have rose hips, throw them in some type of like flower arrangement. They're gorgeous. It does not hurt to cut the rose, because of course roses bloom on new growth. Typically I will prune my roses in mid to late January. You want to prune them back because roses, as a general rule, they all bloom on new growth. There are a couple of old heirloom climbing varieties that bloom on old growth, but as a general rule, go ahead and prune your roses. You can see we even still have some fresh new foliage right here. So I will prune them nice and hard in late January. I will also go ahead and prune. This is the white chiffon rose of Sharon. Nice, big, huge beast right here. Beautiful, coarse, double white flowers. It is deciduous, and it is nice and stalky right now, as is my little quickfire hydrangea. This little quickfire is not so little. She is loving life and is living up to her maximum potential here in this space. Prune, it says panicle hydrangea, you can prune it back and we'll do great. And then of course my yin and my yangs. I adore these plants. Proven Winners has discontinued them, which I really don't like. They know it, I'm not telling them anything they don't know. The reason that they discontinued yin and yang is because they are quite limited as far as their growing zones. They are a southern shrub, and it's just that the numbers weren't there. Nothing wrong with the plant, just the numbers were not there. But it is the easiest, most low maintenance plant. But look, can y'all see the red stems on. This is an evergreen viburnum. It's a type of David viburnum, and I love these plants. They are just beautiful. One is yin, one is yang. I don't remember who is who, and it doesn't really matter. It's just that if you want to have the plants to produce berries, then you need to have one of each, because they will produce flowers in the early summer, and then they cross-pollinate, and then those flowers will turn into berries. So yin and yang, oh, love it. Now, you will notice that I have not made it back here to prune out burnt annuals. When I showed you that late fall garden tour after a hard freeze, I showed you and I was like, listen, I've got a lot of work to do. And y'all were like, oh my gosh, y'all have got tons of work. And I was like, yeah, well, we always have tons of work. You just have to get in here and pull them out. I'm doing it step by step. Obviously, annuals, they're gone. I have my summerific hibiscus, and I'm gonna wait till they turn completely brown, the stems all the way down, and then I will prune them. This bed is doing nicely. We've got, of course, the Incredible hydrangeas here. They've gone dormant, right? So we've had 25-degree nights, we had a 30-degree night, and they have begun to go dormant, as has my Pillow Talk gardenia. Now, you may look at this gardenia and you're like, but Jenny, it's got some brown on it. The brown leaves that you see, that was tender new growth, and when we had that 25-degree night, it fried that tender new growth. Not worried about it at all, because you can see that the plant overall is quite healthy. So it will be just fine. Gardenias bloom on old growth, so do not prune them. My spireas, this is the double play doozy. They do bloom on new growth, and you need to prune them really nicely. They will get pruned in the probably like mid to late February. And then of course, the last thing that I was going to show you is just some gorgeous fall color over here with the Scentlandia. Scentlandia is a sweet spire, and dear heavens, Scentlandia, sweet spire, Itea, yeah, sweet spire. I think. I could be wrong, y'all. I'm on the struggle bus, I think, today. So Scentlandia, Itea, look at that beautiful fall foliage. Just gorgeous. And then with that phenomenal lavender behind it with that nice cool blue foliage, great, great pairing. This blooms on new growth, so you can prune it after it loses its leaves and be just fine. So whether you're looking at shrubs or perennials or annuals, trees, check out the new plant hardiness zone map, because it could affect what you are growing. As far as your annuals, the hardiness zone typically does not affect annuals unless that annual then becomes a perennial for you, because I know at the garden center we sell there's probably a handful of plants that we sell as annuals, but will actually be perennials for us where we are. Like a lamian is that way, there's a salvia that way, the lemon coral sedum. So there is a couple of things as far as the annuals go. If you went warmer, maybe those annuals now turn into perennials for you. But just have fun, get out there. We're entering into the season of dreaming and planning next year's garden, and that is one of my most fun times, because we dream big, and then the summer hits and the spring hits, and you start to put those plans into action. As always, we so appreciate you. You have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.